back, guys. How are you doing? This is my first week training SBD post Worlds, and I thought it'd be a fitting time to talk to you about strategies to get back into training after you've competed or after you've maxed out and heavily exerted yourselves. So today I am benching. I got a 4x4 at 310 pounds, and while I do this workout, I'm going to talk to you about strategies to get back into training after competition. Now, how do you get back into training? So this is not a rule of law by any means, but personally, especially after a really hard prep, I like to take a week off completely from SBD. Now, I'll still train and I'll still prioritize my mobility work, but it's nice to get a little bit of a mental break from squats, bench, and deads for a little bit. I find some people like to get right back into training. That's totally fine if your body can handle that. But one of the important things also on the flip side is not to take too much time off work. Like if you take a few weeks off, it might feel extremely weird, extremely foreign when you come back to training. Now, if you picked up any injuries, aches, or pains, it's also really important, especially at the start of your prep, to really iron these out. So if it's serious, I'd recommend seeing physio, but really hammer out those rehab exercises so that you're feeling good deeper into your prep. Next, let's talk about a few different strategies to address what your training could look like. So one of the common mistakes I see when people finish a comp or are resuming back into training or prep is they try and pick up from where they left. Now, after you've competed, after you've gone through a peaking phase, your body's naturally going to be holding a lot of fatigue, and it's probably not the best idea to try and pick up right where you left off with extremely heavy weight. It's going to feel very hard. It might increase your risk for injury. And, a lot of people try and do it, just often will say their lifting will feel like trash right after competition. Sometimes you see people do YOLO lifts and hit big PRs after competition. Sometimes that happens, but that's usually not going to be the case for the majority of people. So with that being said, what should we do? I would usually recommend starting off with some sort of preparatory or ease-in block. So here's an example using RPEs. Let's say your first week of training coming back is you're doing 3 sets of 5 at RPE 6. And then the next week you might do 3 sets of 5 at RPE 7. And then the next week you might build up to 3 sets of 5 at RPE 8, and then slowly ramp into, more difficult training weight that way, using a slow progression of RPEs. That same idea we just discussed with RPEs can also be used for percentages. For example, let's say you started your bench with a 4x4 at 75%, and then you kind of started to inch your percentages up to from 75 to 78 to 80, doing that 4x4 over the weeks. And basically just kind of gives your body some time to climatize and adjust to training as you kind of get back into more heavier working weights. I just realized I completely messed up my weights and I just jumped to 315 for a single, but I have to come back down to 310 for my working weights today. Now, another ease-in strategy I use for a lot of my athletes is to progressively increase the volume till I get to a spot where I want them to be. So example is, let's say if I want them to be at, 5x5s at a certain weight, I might, for that first preparatory block, start them at, let's say, 5x2, then the next week of 5x3, next week 5x4, till we get to that point where at that 5x5 and their body has had that time to acclimatize their training, get back into it, and that way when we start the 5x5s, it doesn't feel foreign, it's at an RP that I want, and things are moving smooth and nice for that athlete. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. I got a couple more working sets on bench and I have some accessories to do. But key things to really note when you're coming back from a competition is if you need the time, take some mental break. Don't stop lifting completely. Focus on your rehab and recovery if there's any injuries you need to come back from, and then ease into it. Don't start too high. Start with intensities and volume that makes sense, and slowly ramp up as you get back into the swing of things. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, train hard, train smart, see results, and get casted. If there's any topics you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below, and tune in as I prepare for Nationals 2025 in September, as it is a short turnaround, and I'm trying to get back to the World Championships in 2025 next year in Germany.